الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وآله الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد فأوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله فإنه حبل متين وعروة وثقى صلوات. Dear brothers and sisters in Iman, first of all I advise myself for taqwa, parhizgari and piety, and then I advise all of you for the same. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with more tawfiq where we can know more about Him and we can get closer to Him and we can become more obedient servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah give us tawfiq where we can become better followers of Muhammadu Ali Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam and better members of our families and better citizens of our country. Last Friday I had promised that I will take all the time to focus on these current issues, particularly this last incident in Syria, what was happening in Syria. When last year in October 7th, this conflict got into a new phase and started a new phase of conflict in Gaza. Almost every Friday I spoke about it and I tried to explain and I tried to give some of our narrative and briefed our audience about what was going on in Gaza, in Palestine, and then into other regional areas. We had enough discussions about that, so I will not repeat what I have already said in past, and we don't have that much time in hand also, but I will repeat at least one point, and that is that this conflict in Gaza or in Palestine didn't start on October 7th, 2023. Normally the Western media and the allies of Zionist regime will create the impression that everything was just going fine. In Palestinians were living peaceful life, graceful life, and there was a great harmony among the neighbors in Palestine and in this Israel. And everything was just perfect and fine and all of a sudden these Palestinians, they started something crazy and they attacked on Israel, and this is how this conflict started. And since they began and they started this aggression, so Israel had right to respond. And then all what Israel did, they took it as its legitimate right to respond, and then meaning they were always standing with him. And they were saying that, meaning Israel has right to defend, and we are here to support Israel and to stand with Israel in its right to defend. Our position from the very beginning was that conflict didn't start on October 7th, 2023. This conflict started in 1948, and then it never ended. It was ongoing conflict. Ups and downs came, and people from both sides had wars and fights and conflicts and all that, and it was always going on. So much so that even according to Israeli media and their own activists and their own ex-officers in army and security agencies, everything is on YouTube, that the lives of Palestinians in Palestine or in Gaza were worse than hell. They were living in hell, humiliated every day, again and again and again at every step of their life. So much so that their life became more difficult than death. And you know what had happened in Minnesota? When one policeman was putting his knee on the neck of that black guy and he said, let me breathe. So exactly that was the situation. And the soldiers of Israel and their army beating women, elderly, children, humiliating them on every step in their life and made their life hell. So it was a kind of reaction to that, what they were going through, and they did what they did on October 7th. So it didn't start on October 7th. So that's one thing that every time remember. It didn't start on October 7th, it started much earlier in 1948. And people in Palestine had legitimate right to fight for their freedom and to push back those usurpers and those occupying forces and occupying powers, and also be clear on that. All those people who are living in Israel, whether they wear uniform or they don't wear uniform, but if they came from outside in last century, after 1948, from Europe, and they are now settled over there, none of them is considered innocent. Whether they wear uniform or they don't wear uniform, they are usurpers. They are standing and living in the place which is battlefield, and they are supporting the occupying forces. So how can you consider them the innocent civilians? They are not innocent civilians. They are occupying. They are occupiers in that land. And whether they support the regime in this way or that way, by wearing uniform or by not wearing uniform, but they are basically part of the occupation. So you cannot say that they are innocent civilians and they have nothing to do with it. They have everything to do with it. And they have no right to live there or to stand there or to stay there. So these are the 2 points which need to be very clear, and everybody should know that. Never forget these things. Then of course we have spoken about it. Almost in last 14 months, 15 months, what has gone, what has happened? The entire world, so-called free world, so-called champions of human rights, women rights, children rights, and very civilized world was just watching as spectators, or actually they were funding and supporting the brutal regime of Israel. On daily basis, these bombs were shipped from United States, our own country, with our tax money. Our people in this country don't have health insurance. They don't have homes to live. They don't have the basic facilities. And billions of dollars were given to this brutal regime to keep bombing the women and the children and the innocent people. And now you know more than me that what is the situation of that Gaza. It's a graveyard. It's a graveyard. There's nothing left. Numbers of martyrs which people are, they say 40,000, 50,000, but this 40, 50,000 are those people that we have their dead bodies. But those who are still buried under that rubble, those who we don't know, the number is more than 150,000 or even more. And then those who are injured, those who are severely suffering from those injuries, and this whole destruction and all what is the misery which is created, I think this is the largest misery and destruction what they have created in the recent times. Civilized world, champions of human rights, women's rights, children's rights, kept watching and either giving the blind eye or were just saying they started, they are responding, they have all the right to respond. Hypocrisy, and this is world is really full of hypocrisy. So, then of course, this conflict started expanding. The resistance from Yemen, from Lebanon, from Iraq, they also started kind of at least distracting the brutal regime from focusing too much on those innocent people. It's just like there are two people and one powerful man, a monster, is beating someone. There are few kids or some women or some just average people around. They are not matched to that monster, but they go and they grab his hands, his feet. They try to wrestle with him to help that someone who is being beaten. So these people, they are not states like Israel. These are the peoples of Lebanon or people of Iraq or people of Syria or people of Yemen. None of them are states and equipped like state. They stood with them, they tried their best. And then, as you know, what happened with Lebanon, what happened with other people, even in Iran. Iran got attacked. So many high officials of Iran got attacked. Even Iranian embassy, Iranian consulate, Iranian high officials, they got martyred in Damascus, who were just trying to be a help for the oppressed. There was not Iranian army fighting there. These were the advisors, these were the experts, these were the people that who could give them some advice or some guidance. And finally, it got spread out, and it reached to the edge of another regional war, or even some people were scared that it can turn into a world war. So while all this was happening, all of a sudden something happened which surprised almost everyone. And that was this so swift and quick fall of the government in Syria. First of all, believers were heartbroken when they heard the news of martyrdom of those iconic figures of resistance in Lebanon, one after another. It was just as imagined in Karbala, that everybody was hoping, all eyes were on Abul Fadl al-Abbas. Children are looking at Abul Fadl al-Abbas. Ladies are all feeling strong. Abul Fazl al-Abbas is there. Imam Hussein and all the soldiers. And everyone is the pillar or the hope is Abul Fadl al-Abbas. And then what happens? So quickly, what happens without going into battlefield, without showing his bravery, without fighting, all of a sudden what we see is shoulders are cut and Abul Fazl al-Abbas is gone. Something which was not easily believable. How come? This son of Ali, this son of Baneen, that everybody was waiting to see his war, his fight, and then without fighting, he's gone. Same thing happened, my brothers and sisters, here in Lebanon. That everyone, the resistance and all the allies, they were very strong until those leaders, the Sayyid was alive. But after his shahadat, you see the demoralization coming to this pocket, to that pocket, to this pocket, to that pocket. I don't think that any community or any fraction of Muslims has paid that much price for this fight which this community in Lebanon has paid. Yes, Gaza is all destroyed, and they have given so many shuhada, but shaheed to shaheed, there is a difference, my brothers and sisters. In Battle of Uhud, we had so many shuhada, but the pain which Prophet got from the shahadat of Sayyidul Shuhada Hamza, it broke the back of Prophet. And when Prophet came to pray Salatul Janaza, we have 5 takbir, and Prophet made 70 takbir for the Janaza of Hamza. This shahadat of Hamza alone the pain was more than all those shuhada who were fighting alongside with him. Sometimes we people, particularly in modern times, we feel this is discrimination. No, it's not discrimination. Two individuals are not the same. even if they do the same job. The ibadat of alim and jahil, you have tons of hadiths, both are doing the same 2 rakat prayer, but the rewards with Allah are different. The charity of one person may be a ton, and charity of another family of just 1 barley bread. This 1 barley bread given by Sayyida Fatima Zahra, Salamullah alayha, to that yatim and his miskeen and asir, makes difference. Who gave it? With what kind of intention, with what kind of sincerity, and then all those other things. So, this community has given its sacrifices more than any other community. All this was going on, and all of a sudden, you see what happened? That these rebels, who were used to call terrorists, and their chief is still in the list of terrorists, and there is a money, $10 million for this man, and all of a sudden he is getting all the VIP treatment, and he is going and he is conquering, and all these people are getting into Syria. And Syrian regime, which had resisted in 2011 and was able to beat them all, we don't see Hafiz al-Assad standing there anymore. This Bashar al-Assad, and he is gone. And that was something that which made many people disappointed. Many people got confused. Many people were heartbroken everywhere around the world, and those who were the enemies of Ahlul Bayt or the followers of Ahlul Bayt, they were beating the drums and they were all just celebrating and Shematatul A'da, and people are happy and congratulations and celebrating, oh, Iran got weak, or Russia got weak, or Iran got defeated, or Russia got defeated. This Bashar al-Assad is out, and it's a revolution, and this is this, and this is this. And of course, when you hear all this, it's not easy to take. I know through what kind of pain our community has gone worldwide. Most of my time is already gone, but I will just make these few points, my brothers and sisters. It was a surprise for common people, but it was not surprise for those who were informed, those who knew what was going on. Iran knew it, leaders of resistance knew it, knowledgeable people, informed people, they knew it. The weakest, that piece of this chain of resistance was Syria. This was the weakest chain in the resistance. Start from Yemen, come to Iraq, Iran, Hamas, and then come to Lebanon, and then come to Syria. The weakest part was Syria. And it was expected actually to fall even in 2011. It was just falling. But Western regimes, who were the sponsors of that spring, what was that called, Arab Spring, at last minute they got cold foot. They didn't know that what is going to happen in this country just next to Israel. These terrorists, these Daesh, these all extremists, if they come in and they take over, they will make the life of Israel and Israelis hell. And even this country, it's a very complicated country, Syria. It's a small country, but my brothers and sisters, 5,000 years old country. Damascus, its history is 5,000 years old. And Christians are there, All kind of Muslims are there, all kind of Shias are there, and all kind of ethnic communities are there in that tiny small country. So President Obama and then this Biden and all the Western regimes, while they were just there as some other regimes like Hosni Mubarak and Libya and Iraq and Tunisia, and they were gone, so this was also going to fall. But then they put their foot on the brake. They said, let's wait. Don't rush. Because if you will get him out, you don't know who are going to come and take this country, and they may not go with our agenda. First, we need to tame these terrorists, take some time to give them some courses, some classes, tame them and brainwash them, get some commitments from them that they will remain within their boundaries, they will remain within our directives, they will not do at their own what they would like to do. Sometimes they won't get crazy. So they took almost those 10 years to tame these washis. They cut their nails, they cut their what you call those teeth, and they try to tame them and train them and then get all those kind of commitments from them, and then they were waiting for their time. And when they saw that no, there is no one to challenge, and this is the time, again, it has some more details I cannot share with you right now in this brief time. This is again because of this transition and this 20th January and Biden going out and Trump coming in with the new agenda, with new plans, and there are so many things involved here. Finally, they decided to know this is the time. The biggest hypocrite country among the Muslim countries at this time, the Turkey, which played the most dirty game. Go and do the research that in all these 15 months, 16 months of war, what was the role of Turkey? This guy who speaks very loud, but look at his actions and his transactions and his support to Israel. He walks something, he talks something else. So, he became the commander-in-chief in a way. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, all these other Arab Emirates and these champions of civilization and the rights and the humanity and everything. If it was somewhere else, they would not let terrorists go and take a country. They are still in their list of terrorists. There is still $10 million bounty hanging on the head of Giuliani. But if he takes the country like Syria, it's okay. Yesterday, a team of diplomats left Washington to go to Damascus to sit with these people and negotiate all the plans and decide what is going to be their role and what is going to be their role and who is going to rule and all the details. It's a public story, it's not something secret. If you are listening to the news, you know that these diplomats went yesterday to Damascus. So this was all a dirty game, but at the same time, be clear, my brothers and sisters. If Iran stood with Bashar Assad or Hafizul Assad in Syria, it was not because Basharul Assad was Shia or Basharul Assad or Hafizul Assad was a good guy or if he was a legitimate ruler of the Syria, or he was a very praiseworthy individual and Iran went to help him and support him as a good guy. That was not the case. Iran never said that Bashar al-Assad or his father Hafiz al-Assad were very kind people or good people or noble people or even good Muslims. They never praised them. They never said that these people are heroes of Islam or heroes of Muslims. Matter of fact, Bashar al-Assad or his father Hafiz al-Assad belonged to the same party of Saddam Hussein, Al-Bas party. Bas party was ruling in Iraq and ruling in Syria. And both men were identical. Saddam killed his people, and Hafiz al-Assad and Bashar al-Assad also killed their people. Saddam Hussein was used to kill ulama, mujtahiddeen, and mutadayyaneen, and those people that who were religious people, and Bashar al-Assad and Hafiz al-Assad were used to do the same thing. Any young man going to masjid for Fajr prayer regularly, he will get picked up. He is dangerous young man. He goes to masjid to pray Fajr. This was a practice of Bashar al-Assad. So no one is shedding tears for Bashar al-Assad. It was a tactical kind of what you call the arrangement. Iran had some interests in the area, same as the Russia. Russia had interests in the area, and of course the Hafiz al-Assad or his son Bashar al-Assad had also his interests. So it was a kind of, working together for their own interests. What Iran needed from here, Iran wanted to find a corridor to get into Lebanon to help its allies, and Iran had no other way other than going through Syria. That was the only interest of Iran. The other only interest of Iran was the safety and the security of our shrines. We have shrines there which are more important to us than anything else. And those takfiris and those Daesh and those kind of people were blowing the graves of companions of Prophet. And they were posing the danger, and they were saying, we will go and blow up this shrine of Sayyida Zainab and Sayyida Ruqayya. So that was another thing, that Iran was standing with Hafiz al-Assad or this Bashar al-Assad to protect those shrines. These were the only two interests. So they came, they stood with Bashar al-Assad, Iran and Russia both. Russia had its own interests of that gas pipeline. Otherwise, Russia is nothing to do with Syria or with the Bashar al-Assad or something. He had his own interests. Iran had this interest. They stood with Bashar al-Assad and his army, and they defeated Daesh, they defeated all those extremist groups, and they all kind of got scattered. This time, what happened? It's not only the West. What information I have, I did research in last few days. Again, Iran was trying to mediate between some of these Muslim rebels who were against the regime of Bashar al-Assad and the government of Bashar al-Assad. Iran never participated in killing of the Syrian people by the Syrian army. Matter of fact, Iran always advised them, don't do this, don't kill your people. Your people are people and they are Muslims. And even if they are not Muslim, you are not supposed to kill these innocent people. So Iran was always trying to make a good advice. In last 10 years, there was a lot of diplomacy and lot of what you call shuttle diplomacy between Tehran and between these groups who were against Bashar al-Assad. You know, Iran is a country, and Iran is a country which is master of diplomacy. It is acknowledged even by Western regimes and Western capitals. Iran is number one in diplomacy. You know, in this bargaining which was going about their nuclear technology, the entire Europe was on the other side of table, and on this side it was alone Iran. And one Iran was able to keep all these Western capitals and Western countries and masters of this diplomacy engaged, and Iran never gave up. And they were not able to twist the arms of Iran. So, Iran has diplomacy with Taliban in Afghanistan and has bilateral relations with Taliban. Similarly, Iran had diplomacy and some kind of conversation with these groups, and Iran wanted to come up with some power sharing formula between Bashar al-Assad and between these Islamist groups who were not known terrorists or those who were not very extremist. But what happened? Bashar al-Assad didn't agree. He kept postponing, he kept postponing, he kept postponing. He thought that Russia and Iran are compelled to fight my war. I am not going to withdraw, I am not going to go back, I am not going to give anything. I will just sit as a dictator. I will rule the Syria, and Iranis and Russians will come and fight for me. And then what happened with the army of Syria itself? History repeated this time in the other way. You know, the Syrians were always buying the generals of the other army. Remember, in the time of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, in one day, 2 generals of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba were bought by the Syrian regime of that time, and the camp of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, people are ready to pray, but there is no Imam to lead the prayer. What happened with Imam? He is gone in the camp of Muawiyah. Muawiyah offered him a huge money, and the general of Imam Hassan, he got the money and he went on the other side. So this time what happened? It happened with the Syrians. So the huge money was offered with so many other things: green card, villa, house at beach in America, immigration. Take everything, this whole package, and don't fight, and just stay back. So when Bashar Assad calls his army generals and he asks them, they are coming, so we need to go and fight, like our General Bajwa in Pakistan, who says we cannot fight India and we need to find the peaceful way of negotiation with India. So the same generals of Syrian army, they said, sir, our army is tired, our army is not ready to fight. Generals were sold or bought. So when generals are sold or bought, an army is not ready, so how Iran and Russia have to come there and fight for Syria, and again for a man like Bashar al-Assad? So that was the last straw on the back of camel. When Iran and Russia both, they said, sir, if you are not ready to fight, if your army is not ready to fight, if you are not accepting any reasonable formula for sharing the power with your own people, And if you are not for going any real democracy and any democratic rule, then enough is enough. And I don't have to say it, but actually what happened, Iran had got assurances from these Islamist groups, like as Taliban have now become a kind of, the good neighbors for you in Afghanistan, we will be also your good neighbors in Syria. We are not going to do anything crazy with these shrines, and we will just trust us. First of all, they had no choice. The second thing is, Iran still thinks that if they were able to help, if they were able to achieve their ends through Bashar al-Assad or certain other ends through Taliban, in future, who knows? That these people, also the Islamists, they can again have some kind of understanding with them. So, this time, and this is the last line, it's getting very long, but it's important, I have spent so much time, I want to conclude it. People have taken some clips from 2011, and they are again posting them. People threatening, we are going to destroy this shrine of Sayyida Zainab, we are going to destroy this shrine of Sayyida Ruqayya, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. These are not the current clips. These are 10 years, 11 years old clips. I have seen, and I have sources, and I contacted them, and I confirm that these people went there even for ziyarat of Sayyida Zainab Salamullah alayha. They went there, and they gave assurances that we have nothing against this shrine, and we are not going to do any of those crazy things, and just they are making those kind of assurances. We don't know how much they will keep these assurances, but at the time everything is peaceful and everything is okay. There was no bloodshed, there were no lootings of that nature of our harams or our holy places. Things are intact, and we are fine with what has happened. Syrian people also, they are Muslims, and they deserve a good government of their own. We don't have to be biased so much that meaning a tiny minority who is not even Muslim should keep ruling on that Muslim country. Bashar al-Assad, these people were Nusairis, they were mushrik, they were not even Muslim. And they were ruling, and they were killing these Muslims in Syria. So, if we want good governments for our countries, why don't we want these good governments for the Syrian people? It's up to Syrian people to elect or select their own leaders. Yes, if they don't like these Islamists, they can select the other ones, liberals, or a coalition government. Right now, Iran is trying, Russia is trying, some other countries are trying to have a coalition government, a government of consensus, where our parties are represented, and it should be a national government. We don't know whether it is going to happen or it's not going to happen. There are still so many uncertainties. But I wanted to let you know that there are some people on both sides, on Sunni side, on Shi'i side, who are playing in the hands of enemies of Islam. They create so much fitna. They will come to Shias and they will say, oh, Qiyamat aa gayi Syria mein, or everything is in danger, and brothers and sisters, and please stand up, and these are terrorists, and these are takfiris, and you need to all go after them. And there are Sunnis, extremists, who are going to create that kind of issues in Sunni community. We need to be vigilant. We need to be wise. We don't have to play in the hands of enemies. We should always keep this Islamic unity, the Muslim unity in mind. I have been very keenly watching Iranian media. This time Iranian media didn't use the terms of takfiris or terrorists for these people who took over on Syria. Iranian media was all saying these are rebels. They are the opposition of Bashar al-Assad, because they have to do business with these people tomorrow. But some of us on our social media, takfiris, dahshatgards, this, that, fraud, and we are just doing like that, reckless. We need to be careful. We need to keep the greater interest of Islam and Muslim in mind, and we need to know if we lost this Bashar Assad regime in Syria, it's not Qiyamah. He was not a holy man. His rule was not legitimate. He was not really, his father and he himself ruled 50 years Syria without any legitimate right. He had to fall. So if he has fallen, that's fine. Recite a salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي بن أبي طالب وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء وعلى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان وعلى آبائه الكرام واتصل الليالي والأيام. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون.